According to the Underwriters Laboratories, or UL, standard for circuit breakers, it is permissible to terminate two number 14 conductors under a single breaker lug or terminal on a 15 or 20 amp circuit breaker. This means that you can legally connect two number 14 gauge wires to one screw or clamping point on these specific breakers, provided the breaker is UL listed and designed for such use. However, it's crucial to verify that the circuit breaker in question is indeed rated for multiple conductors. Not all breakers are designed to accept more than one wire. The presence of what appears to be a spot for a conductor on either side of a pressure plate does not automatically qualify the breaker for double lugging. The manufacturer's instructions and the UL listing are the definitive sources for this information. When a breaker is listed for two conductors, it has been tested and evaluated to ensure that it can safely and reliably handle the increased current load and maintain a secure connection with both wires. Using a breaker not rated for two conductors can lead to several problems. Firstly, the connection may not be mechanically sound. The wires may not be held tightly enough, leading to loose connections, which can cause arcing, overheating, and potentially electrical fires. Secondly, the breaker's ability to trip properly under overload conditions may be compromised. If the connection is poor, the resistance increases, generating heat and potentially affecting the breaker's calibration. This could result in the breaker failing to trip when it should, posing a significant safety hazard. Furthermore, using a breaker in a manner not explicitly approved by the manufacturer and UL violates electrical codes and standards. Electrical installations must comply with the National Electrical Code, or NEC, which references UL standards for product safety and proper application. Violations can lead to fines, insurance issues, and, most importantly, increased risk of electrical hazards. Regarding number 12 conductors, these can be double lugged up to 250 volts to ground. This means that if the voltage between any conductor and ground in this system does not exceed 250 volts, two number 12 gauge wires can be connected to a single terminal on a breaker that is specifically listed for that purpose. It is important to note that this allowance typically applies to breakers rated for 20 amps or higher. Again, it's essential to consult the breaker's documentation and UL listing to confirm its suitability for multiple conductors. When making any electrical connections, it's paramount to adhere to best practices for wire termination. Firstly, always ensure that the power is turned off to the circuit breaker before working on it. Secondly, use a properly calibrated torque screwdriver or wrench to tighten the terminal screws to the manufacturer's specified torque. Over-tightening can damage the breaker, while under-tightening can lead to loose connections. Thirdly, use the correct type of wire connector for the application. If the breaker requires the use of a specific type of connector, such as a pressure plate or set screw, use only that type. Do not substitute with other types of connectors, as this can compromise the connection's integrity. Fourthly, carefully inspect the wires for any signs of damage or corrosion. If the wires are damaged, cut them back to a point where the insulation is intact and the conductor is clean and bright. Corrosion can increase resistance and lead to overheating. Fifthly, when inserting the wires into the terminal, ensure that they are fully inserted and that the insulation is not pinched or damaged. The insulation should extend slightly into the terminal to prevent arcing. Sixthly, after tightening the terminal screws, gently tug on the wires to ensure that they are securely held in place. If the wires pull out easily, the connection is not secure or must be retightened or remade. Seventhly, if the circuit breaker is located in a damp or corrosive environment, consider using a corrosion inhibitor in the wire connections to prevent corrosion. Eighthly, always label the circuit breaker with the circuits that it serves. This will help to avoid confusion and prevent accidental disconnection of the wrong circuit. Ninthly, when working on electrical systems, it is always recommended to wear appropriate personal protective equipment, or PPE, such as safety glasses and insulated gloves. Tenthly, if you are not comfortable working on electrical systems, or if you are unsure about any aspect of the installation, consult with a qualified electrician. Remember that electrical work can be dangerous, and it's always better to be safe than sorry. In summary, Double lugging circuit breakers is permissible under certain conditions, but it's crucial to verify that the breaker is UL listed for multiple conductors, that the conductor size and voltage are within the specified limits, and that best practices for wire termination are followed. Always consult the manufacturer's instructions and the NEC for specific requirements and guidelines. Safety should always be the top priority when working on electrical systems.